Shakespeare Festival St. Louis operates year-round to bring the enjoyment of the master playwright's work to our region. Part of that effort involves student education, and here to explain is producing director Joanna Battles. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we're talking about Shakespeare Festival St. Louis, but specifically the education tour. So this is going out into the community, going into our schools, and teaching Shakespeare. But tell us more about the program and how it actually works.
Sure. So this is our 15th year,
Wow.
So it is a pretty successful arm of the Shakespeare Festival. And we have two different shows that we run in rep that are options for the schools to choose. This particular year we have Romeo and Juliet, and then we also have a new play that's loosely based on Comedy of Errors, and it's called Most Outrageous Fit of Madness. It's by Nancy Bell, who is our resident playwright. It's a cast of 5 teaching artists, and they go into the school, they perform the show, and then they also offer workshops for the students who see the show, based on the themes that are prevalent in the show.
So how does the workshop work? So they go, they do this sort of mini performance, if you will,
Yeah.
and then how does the workshop work? Do they say, hey, put on a costume and come up here, or there's like a curriculum that goes along with it, and tell me more about that aspect.
Yeah. So the shows are 50 minutes long. We do that particularly because each class period is usually 50 minutes. And so if there are a variety of different classes that are coming in, say in a high school, that fits in really nicely with their day, with their school day. And then after the 50-minute performance, then we have a 20-minute talk back in which the students get to ask any questions of the actors, how do you learn those lines, all of those things.
No, what are some of the questions that they ask? I mean, it's not every day that your teaching artists are obviously professional actors, that, students get a chance to sit down face to face with a professional, a professional actor to ask these questions. So what do they ask?
Yeah, I mean, you will get questions like that. How do you learn those lines? Everyone seems fascinated by that. But also, there are some funny things. So in Romeo and Juliet, it is, 2 star-crossed lovers, right? It is Romeo and Juliet, and so they kiss several times in the play. And there will be some younger students who will ask, "Did you really kiss?"
Right.
Because it's a different sort of reality that they're witnessing, and so it's a exciting thing for them to see.
I think that's great too, because there's kind of 2 fronts, right? There's the content side, which is learning about Shakespeare and his works and his plays, and delving into that, but then also the performance side of it, which is one thing too for students to learn. So it's great to hear that. And so what is the age range of the students that can participate in, or participate really in the education tour?
So Romeo and Juliet is geared more towards middle school and high school age students. Madness, that show, is more geared towards the younger students, the elementary school students. But honestly, we've had some schools who want Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo and Juliet will be also in the park coming up in June. And that's the full version of Romeo and Juliet. These 50-minute versions are abridged. They're still basically the entire content of the story. It's just a lot of the language is cut out for time management. But where was I going in that?
Well, I imagine too, with a lot of teachers, that it's in the curriculum as well, that they're reading Romeo and Juliet. And
exactly.
I think and I can go back all this many years, back to high school, where it helps so much when you're reading. And you could probably speak to this from an expertise standpoint, but when you're reading the play to then actually see it.
Yep, it's really amazing. I mean, these plays were written to be listened to. They were written to be seen, and so it's a really different experience if you're reading the play by yourself, not really being able to envision what Shakespeare had in mind. And so it's such a different experience, and it connects us through history, right? I mean, these plays, the themes are still really relevant to today. There is a theme throughout the festival this year of identity. And so I feel like that's incredibly relevant to today's world. Right now, how do you honor your own identity without denouncing someone else's culture is really important. And so we show that in Romeo and Juliet in a very clear way with the Montagues, just to make sure that people understand that you can respect each other, but you can each have your own identity.
No, I think that's one of the reasons Romeo and Juliet continues in popularity is it speaks, people identify to it, whether it's talking about your these two families, opposing families, and so people apply that these days to class and religion and race, and so it's still very, very much very interesting. Well, we've got the information there for you on the screen. If you are an educator or if you know an educator who is interested in learning more about the education tour that Shakespeare Festival St. Louis offers, reach out to them. First, go to the website, sfstl.com. You can learn more information, and there's a contact information for you to reach out to learn more about the program. But we're going to talk more with Shakespeare Festival St. Louis right after this. Please stay with us.